Hi, I'm Jane Esselstyn.
I'm Ann Esselstyn.
And I'm Brian Hart.
And this is day 2 of our 15-minute challenge. Ann just did a meal with pasta and sauce and veggies that was awesome, and she did it in under 15 minutes.
And we figured out that it had probably 15 different vegetables in it.
More.
More?
Arguably more. So Brian is up right now. We just cleaned the deck because she finished hers a few seconds ago here. He's next, but we're serving you day by day by day. So if you didn't see Ann's, please go back and look at day 1. And here goes Brian. Take
All right.
it away.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Brian Hart. Some of you may know I'm the executive director of the Esselstyn Foundation, but today I'm doing double duty here. I'm working for Healthcare is Self-Care today, right?
Yeah.
Am I getting money for this? I don't think I am, no. All right, so we're doing 15-minute meals, and in the Esselstyn Hart household, it is very common, especially when it's just the two of us, that we keep things really, really simple. Even though Ann and Jane have made these amazing cookbooks and all this stuff with very often some more complicated recipes, when it's just the two of us, we're pretty lazy. We don't want to have to deal. A lot of times at about 6:15 when we're watching the news at night, we'll look at each other and say, well, what in the world do you want to have for dinner? And of course, nobody really wants to have to kick out a lot of effort. And so this is a meal that I would say, eat twice a week at least.
Yeah.
It's one of our go-tos. And so this is greens. How do we
Grits, greens, and beans.
Grits, greens, and beans is the best way. Yeah. But we'll talk all about that.
Okay,
So
are we on yet? Are you going yet?
so I have to hit the start. Yeah. Here we go.
Are you ready to start? Are you ready to start already?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
I'm
You
trying to make it
already
fair.
started. You're cheating.
No.
I was just
Go.
okay.
You
Now
go.
we're starting. So, grits, greens, and beans. We got this from a good friend of ours, Travis, who we love, and it's really, really basic. So all you need to do is, first of all, we're going to create a. You always want to start with a wet starch as the base of your bowl. So this is a classic bowl recipe. And in this case, we're going to do something called polenta, which is really just a fancy name for corn grits. For those of you from the South, my mom's whole family is from the South, you call this corn grits. But really, if you want to go to Whole Foods and act like you know what you're talking about, say polenta.
Well, when I went to look for this, I found a lot of flour, corn flour. Can you do this with corn flour?
No, corn flour turns it in. Jane actually did it by accident one time. It wasn't very good.
And it was
blue.
blue.
It was like a flour goulash.
It was like a kindergarten project.
Yeah. It looked like a kindergarten
So
project.
it has to say polenta.
No, this one just says cornmeal. This is Bob's Red Mill. Hey, no problem. Bob's Red Mill, and it's a medium grind cornmeal. So what you need is, it's 1 cup to 3 cups of water, and I already have. So my little mini cheat here is that I had the water on the verge of boiling, so I just turned it on as when I first started. And so what we have here is 3 cups of water that are ready to go, and I have my 1 cup of polenta. It's all just cornmeal, and I'm just going to whisk it in. You just can pour the whole thing in at once. It's a little bit lumpy sometimes, but at first when you pour it in, you're going to think, oh man, I've got way too much water. But again, remember, as the corn absorbs that water, it's going to plump up. And the cool thing is, a lot of times on the product, it'll say stir over heat for 20 minutes. I've never done that. I've actually, you stir it a couple times and it starts to pop and spew out hot
It's like a
lava,
volcano. I get
and
burned.
you get burned on your arm. And so all I'm going to do is make sure that it's pretty well mixed. And then what I'll do is just put a top on it, sit it on the stove, and just let it sit while I'm doing the other thing.
And when you put it on the stove, it's not on heat.
Yeah, the stove's
Just
not on.
A cold stove.
Because right now it just looks like kind of a gruel, but it'll plump up, as they say. So I'm just putting the top on there. Now we're doing black beans, and we're going to do greens. And so black beans, a really easy black bean recipe is I've got my can of reduced sodium. I always want to try to get reduced sodium black beans.
No sodium better.
Yeah, no sodium would be better. But just remember, if you're buying regular black beans, it doesn't say no or low sodium. It probably has a ton of salt in it. So
just rinse them.
yeah, so you just rinse them. So this makes it especially easy because it's the peel off the can. And I don't like a ton of liquid in my black beans. I don't know about you. I always drain it a little bit just to get some of the... And all I'm going to do is pour it into a bowl. And our easy go-to when it comes to black beans... Oops, I left like half the can in there. Our easy go-to when we don't really feel like having to think too much about seasoning is barbecue sauce. And so this is a sugar-free barbecue sauce that I found one day. It's got some other junk in it. I don't really like it that much, but I bought it just to give it a try. And so a little bit, literally like a tablespoon, of barbecue sauce. And then all I'm going to do is mix it up and microwave it. And so that, believe it or not, is all it really needs. Just a little bit of sweet, and maybe this one's got a little bit of heat, if you like a little bit of heat, and that just is the best. So good, so easy. Microwave for 1 minute, mix, microwave for another minute, mix, and then it'll probably be ready.
So does that barbecue sauce have a little heat in it, you think?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay. Because I suppose you could add heat for with a smoked paprika or something.
You can add whatever, but again, we're trying to keep it really simple here. You don't want to have to overthink,
right?
Especially after a long day. There's actually something in behavioral economics. They talk about something called decision fatigue. People get to the end of their day and they've already made like 25,000 decisions in their day, and they get to the end of the day and they have to start thinking about what to make for dinner, and they're exhausted. They don't really want to. And that's when you start making bad decisions. That's when you start stuffing your mouth full of like handfuls of cashews or chips or something like that because you're really, really hangry.
You mean chocolate chips?
Yeah, chocolate chips too, yes.
Or maybe you'd rather just eat these plain rather than do what Brian's going to do next.
Yeah, okay. So we've got our greens, which are just going to be, they're non-steamed. We're just going to go with fresh greens for our base. But now it becomes the part that's about the magic of the dish. Is you can pile all kinds of nutrients into your bowl, but ultimately what's going to make it really, really good and make you want to eat it is some sort of sauce. So I'm going to show you today my buffalo cashew sauce, which is really quick and easy, and I've got 10 minutes, no problem, so much time. So I've got about 2/3 of a cup of cashews. These are just raw cashews that don't have any salt on them or anything, and I'm just going to run some hot water for a second, get it really, really hot, and I'm going to put the hot water in here and just let it sit for a minute.
Warm water, sorry.
Yeah, it needs to be really hot so it softens the nuts, so it just purees the sauce a little bit, makes it a little smoother. You could skip this whole process if you wanted to. So all I'm doing is just pouring a little hot water in there and giving it a second. Now, I've got my food processor here, and I'm going to throw into the food processor just some basic stuff that ends up being incredibly flavorful, and you will just love it. So, can I have a knife, Jane? Any kind of, yeah, perfect. So I have a tomato here. This tomato actually happens to be one of those tomatoes that was sitting in our house. It's got a black spot on it.
Good choice.
We're going for it. I'm just slicing out the little nub at the top, and then I'm just cutting it into chunks and throwing it into the food processor. I'm not even cutting out the black spot. We want that microbiome to really be invigorated.
Why cut out the little ends when you're going to grind it up anyway?
That's true. I don't even have to cut out the little ends. I think that's just a habit of just cutting out the little ends. So I've got a whole tomato in there. Now, this is where we get into the magic part. Roasted red peppers. These are just red peppers that are stored in water, and actually this one has a little bit of red wine vinegar. But roasted red peppers, so you don't have to roast them. That takes a lot of time to roast a red pepper.
But I will fly in our own roasted red pepper recipe here that we did. One of our first recipes we ever did with Wade.
So amazing.
We just love.
So I'm putting the equivalent of maybe one whole red pepper, if I could get it out of the dish, or the jar, I mean.
They're slippery.
Jeez. I feel like I'm wrestling a bunch of live bait.
You're like OBGYN.
Yeah. Got it. All right, just going to throw the equivalent of probably one. And remember, our cashews are soaking. They're getting a little soft. And then I've got one of my new favorite discoveries of recent years, which is smoked paprika. Smoked paprika is so good. Gives it that nice smoky taste. Let's say 2 teaspoons. Then we've got onion powder, just a little dash of onion powder, a little garlic powder, dash of garlic powder. You can use whole garlic if you want. And then we need, the absolute best part, which is some sort of hot sauce. So we've used
Sriracha.
Pete's, this is Cholula, and I'm just going to give it a few, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How about that? You'll think it'd be really spicy, but it's actually not.
It's crazy how you can do a lot of chula with that without making it.
Now I've got my cashews. I'm just going to drain them, get the liquid out. Pour them in here. Then I'm going to thin. Oops, this is on backwards. You guys trying to trick me?
Sorry.
I'm slowing you down.
Slowing me down. What's my time? Oh, 7 minutes. No problem. No problem. And then what I do is I thin it with some sort of alternative milk. Here I've got Plant Strong's new almond and oat milk, which is fine, but you know, sometimes I'll use soy milk, whatever we have, and this gives a little bit of a creamy, kind of rich taste. And I'm just going to start grinding this up.
Use code Jane15 for a discount by Plant Strong.
These are awesome, and they're just new, and they're only in Whole Foods right now. 4 different flavors.
Ooh, can you get to plantstrong.com? Plantstrong shop? Can you go to it online?
No, they're only available, I think, right now at Whole Foods.
Oh, then there's probably a discount.
So Plant Strong, if you don't know already. And they're really proud of their little leaf character right there. So
Plant Strong
might be something you want to consider as a tattoo. I think it'd be a good tattoo. What do you think, Ann?
Yeah.
Do you have any tattoos, Ann?
Brian does, but I don't.
I think it might be time. What?
Brian,
why do it? Why not do
No.
it? Okay, so now we've got our bowl. We're going to lay down our greens. I think we should all get leaf tattoos.
All right, lead the charge. You go.
So I'm just taking, this is talk about easy. I'm just taking a handful of I don't even take the stems off. Jane sometimes chokes on the stems, and I always kind of get a chuckle out of that when Jane always takes the stems off.
Well, things get a little leggy, and I'm going to go.
I think Esselstyns have like small esophagus.
Esophagi. I'm with your.
I got 5 minutes. I'm burning time here. So I've got my greens. You always want to lay down your bed of greens. Now I'm going to go and check out my
That's
polenta.
like a wonder bed of greens.
Yep, I've got my polenta, which is stiffened up a little bit, and it's got some heft to it.
Look at that. Yum.
So now I'm just going to find a spot here and then I've got my beans, which I forgot to hit on. Could you hit it 1 minute again?
Oh.
I forgot to warm them up a little bit more. I'm just burning time, no problem. And then look at the sauce. It comes out to be such a gorgeous color. It's this beautiful sort of burnt sienna. Isn't that like a crown color?
It is like a Crayola color.
So waiting for my beans.
You know what you have? You know what I got for you? Because I know you love to do this. You can get some scissors. Brian loves to cut the ends of the scallions as
one of
garnish.
the most underrated tools in the kitchen is scissors. See, I'm just gonna cut some green onions on top of my bowl here. Stick them back in this little dish. How's it going, Ann?
No, it's a little less.
That's fine. I'm sure it's good. So I've got my black beans that I seasoned. Now I'm going to take these and layer them in there. I tend to like to, for display purposes, sort of keep my food separate. And then we've got this unbelievable sauce, which is not only incredibly tasty, but
it's pretty.
It is beautiful. And then Ann knows what I'm looking for. What am I looking for?
Glaze.
I don't know where it is.
My balsamic glaze.
It's right. It's on the dry.
We always do that.
It's on the shelf, not in the fridge.
So I've got balsamic glaze because this is where you can get chefy. Do a little drizzle of balsamic glaze, and there you have it. 3 minutes and 14 seconds left.
Okay.
That is a classic Esselstyn Hart evening. We watch Lester Holt on NBC, and we eat our bowl.
So this is Ann's from day one. If you didn't see day one, Ann made this pasta dish, which is delicious. Tonight, Brian has done grits, greens, beans, and a
cashew buffalo sauce.
With some chefy.
But you can't. No, you can't eat it yet.
I'm not going to. I'm just commenting that if I were going to have a forkful, I would go for that glazed part too.
He did it with. You had over 2.5 minutes, almost 3 minutes to spare.
I know. And what I really should do is here's something that we do at our house all the time, which is we always have red cabbage floating around at the bottom of the crisper. It starts to look a little sketchy. So again, back to the scissors concept. Like if we're trying to get as much color into our day and our lives and our diet, here's a great way. I mean, cabbage lasts forever. And look at that. It just adds a beautiful bit of color. You've got all those great phytonutrients that are associated with the purple color. And there you go.
That's really nice.
Ha-cha-cha! Brian, way to kick it in the goal!
All right, thanks. So we'll have part 3 coming up soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.